listening to Fort Riley, the podcast. I'm Caitlin Nauer with Garrison Public Affairs. Fort Riley is well known for its storied cavalry history. In this episode, we're commemorating the last cavalry horse, Chief. Here to discuss Chief and the role of horses in the cavalry is Dr. Bob Smith, Supervisory Curator of the Fort Riley Museum Complex. Thank you for joining me today, Dr. Bob.
You're quite welcome.
Tell our listeners more about Chief.
Chief is the last cavalry horse on United States Army rolls. He lived for 36 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah. And my math is really awful, so that's why I'm a historian. But about 108 years in human years is what they've calculated. So that's open for argument, but that's a long time.
That is. It's a long life.
He was born in 1932. What I did not know, and did a little research on it, is that for 8 years of his life he was a cow pony. He worked cattle ranches up in Nebraska, and then he was sold to the Army to the Fort Robinson Remount Station for $163. He came to Fort Riley in 1941, about 8 or 9 months before Pearl Harbor. And he was a mount for the 9th and 10th Cavalry. He originally started with the 10th Cavalry, moved over to the 9th, transferred to the 9th. Those are Buffalo Soldier units. And so he had a pretty distinguished career. He was known to be a very gentle horse. He was a bay gelding, nice brown, beautiful brown color, black mane, little star on his head. And he was found to be such a gentle mount that then officers started to appropriate him in 1942 with the OCS school here. And then he became a favorite. After that, after the last cavalry, horse-mounted cavalry class, he became a favorite of officers' wives because he was such a gentle ride. And then after that, he became sort of a post-icon, and so he had quite a following after that. And then when the cavalry, horse-mounted cavalry went away in December of 1949, January of 1950, then he was old enough. Horses 16 years and older were allowed to stay here at Fort Riley. Those that were younger were turned over to the Department of Agriculture and sold off. So I always referred to Chief and a couple of those other horses. They went into the Fort Riley retirement home here. And Chief just lived longer than all the other horses here. He lived till 1968. He was given a full funeral. He was buried in a concrete vault, standing up with all of his tack on him.
Wow.
I failed to mention, though, that those years when he was retired, he was ordered never to be ridden again, but he was always brought out for ceremonies, and he always stood to the right of the reviewing stand with his tack and all of his saddle and all of his gear on him. It's really interesting that in reading some of his obituaries, and he did have obituaries. He had a very large obituary in the Junction City newspaper, and a lot of the horse magazines picked up on his story and contributed articles. But they all said that when he became sort of a celebrity here at the Post, and they took whatever anyone would take a photograph of him, they said that he would snap to attention.
Well-trained horse.
Very well-trained horse. But he was taken care of through the early 60s. As all of the other horses started to pass away. Chief, though, it was said here, became very lonely, so the Army bought him a donkey to keep him company.
A donkey?
A donkey. I still have to do some research and find out more about this donkey, but we do know that it was purchased for him and it was kept with him. But Chief had a rather interesting life. There was nothing really unusual about him. He was just a very good-natured horse, and he had an enjoyable retirement here at Fort Riley. And he became sort of the post-celebrity in the 1960s. At his funeral, Major General Wetherell, the CG here, actually was the only speaker. But there were others here to represent the 9th and 10th Cavalry Association, sent representatives, and they said that the funeral was attended by thousands. So that was way before my time, so I can't verify that, but really kind of an interesting story.
Absolutely. If our listeners wanted to find out more about that, what resources or where would you send them?
Well, we do take research questions, although right now I have a very small staff and we are remodeling the museum, so you have to be patient with us, but we will try to get to those research questions. But we also have a Facebook page, and we will be acknowledging Chief's passing and the anniversary of Chief's passing. And then we hope by summer of 2022 to have some new museums open here. We're working very diligently to see that that's taken care of. We're plugging along, and we know 2022 is going to be a golden year for the museum because.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today, Dr.
Oh,
Bob.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Chief died in May 1968 and was given a military funeral with full honors. You can visit his gravesite at the base of Fort Riley's old trooper statue located on the Cavalry Parade Field. View his memorial plaque that states, "He was the last cavalryman on the rolls of the United States Army." To learn more about the history of Fort Riley and the cavalry, visit our website at home.army.mil/Riley and search Fort Riley Museums.